How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Everyone's having a lovely day. The Cincinnati Reds wheeling and dealing. Jonathan India to the Kansas City Royals. They're going to get right-handed pitcher Brady Singer in return here. And hey, well, mixed reactions on this one out of Reds country. And just, early a life lesson of the day, just do what makes you happy, because people are just not going to be happy. They're going to find a reason to complain. Nothing truer than in this situation, because, for the last two off seasons, everybody was saying, hey, trade India, trade India, trade India. Get this guy out the team. Why is he still here? Make room for this guy. The Reds trade him. And now everybody's like, why would you trade your leader? How are you going to get rid of this man? What a dumb trade. You know what? Always loved India. And, that's the tough part about being, any sort of manager, GM, front office guy. Your decisions are always going to be under a microscope. Only time's going to tell at the end of the day. Will it be a great trade? Will it be a bad trade? We'll see. But, just looking at Jonathan India, he was a very big part of this team just because he was a great leader. Always just seemed like he had a positive attitude, a guy you wanted to be around. And, that's important for your young players that are up and coming. And what's also the dilemma the Reds ran into, as we know, though, is you have all these young guys coming up and they can't all play. And we've seen that rotational play. And I'm sure that, the Reds front office talked to Francona about this and said, hey, what do you want to do? And he says, I'm not going to do, possibly, rumoring it, making this up as we go, actually, not even a rumor. He might have came in there and say, hey, I ain't going to do this platoon crap that whatever David Beller's been doing, right? I'm not going to do it. Give me 10 players, 10 major league starters, some bench players, and then let's try to move pieces around to fill the voids in this team. Last season, obviously, the pitching staff had the potential, all the potential in the world. It just, again, they had so many problems staying healthy. That was across the board. They had so many problems staying healthy. But if you can get some depth in the rotation, some reliable veteran presence in the rotation to complement Andrew Abbott, to complement Nick Martinez, who, as far as he's into his career, he's an excellent pitcher, but he's really never been given the reins up until Cincinnati to just be this full-time, even in Cincinnati, to be this full-time starter all the time. So I know there's a lot of probably unease in that. So you bring in a veteran presence, a guy like Brady Singer, to complement these guys. And I do think he's going to be a fourth, fifth man in the rotation kind of guy. Could he be better? Probably not. I think this is one of those trades where both teams, the Royals, the Reds, they look and said, we kind of know what we have in these guys, but we'd like to fill a void somewhere else, so we're willing to make this trade, which is a great trade, the kind of trading partners you look for sometimes. Jonathan India, great leader, great presence, love to see him. We know his defense is, below average, and we know he's about a 240, 250 hitter. That's kind of where he's plateaued. That's kind of where he's fell at. He's got some, hot patches. He plays good baseball game. You love his attitude, but we know he's about 240, 250, and he's not a predominant power hitter, so he's not going to hold a lot of value, in the trade. But what he is going to do is hold a lot of value to a team. He is a cog. He's an important cog to a wheel, especially for the lower budget teams, where you say, hey, we have to, you can't sign every stud. You can't have every prospect turn out to be baller. You have to have some of these middle of the pack guys, these guys that are your staples that you can pay for at a value. And, Royals looking at that saying that'll work for us. Reds, kind of the same story with Brady Singer here. The guy had an expected 267 batting average last season against him. Kind of put that in perspective. Lorenzen's was 226. You want to see sub 240 to really feel good about things. And he has had an elevated batting average against throughout his career. And you instantly look at that. And that's why we bring this up, because his ERA was, below 4 last season, 376. But we've seen him kind of bounce up and down throughout his career. So we kind of know that's where his expected ERA by Baseball 7, if you want to go down that road, was 4.65 for the season. And that may well be where he lands, is around a 4.5 range, which will be, again, 4th, 5th in a rotation. If he plays some good ball, it can go, he can go through some good stretches, might have a couple rough patches in there. Just kind of how things go. But he is a ground ball pitcher. You look at that and say, okay, that was important for the Reds. Get a ground ball pitcher, good American ballpark. 48% of his outs come on the ground ball. He is a sinker ball pitcher. Definitely one of those guys, when he's getting a sinker down in the zone, he's effective. He's having a hard time elevating a little bit. Teams kind of have their way with him. But a primary sinker baller uses that sinker slider combination there, and a different look for the rotation certainly there. I love guys like this, because when you can start to figure it out. You don't worry as much about the wear and tear on the arm. You don't worry about the velocity as you get older. It's important to have those kind of guys on your team where it's like, well, what happens when he's 29? What happens when he's 30? What happens when he's 31? He loses an MPH or two on that fastball. Is he going to be able to get guys out? Some guys struggle with that. But meanwhile, you know, a guy like Brady Singer, you feel confident if he can come into this rotation and be an impact player, that he can, you know, consistently continue to get guys out, because that's never been what he's depended on. So that's what I really enjoy. You know, you want those power throwers or strikeout guys on your team, but that's what I really enjoy about having these guys. When they start to get older, you know, they're getting guys out without the power, so you know they can continue to do that. You feel confident in signing them to longer term deals, and you kind of expect what they've already given you. That being said, you know, again, Jonathan India, tough to lose, but it's going to open up the door. Now Matt McLean plays second. You're going to have Ellie play third, or shortstop. You're going to have Noelvi at third, Yeimer at first, with the, you know, Christian Encarnacion and Strand, possibly Spencer Steer sprinkled in there kind of situation as well. And you feel like you have your core playing every day. And that was so important. I think the one thing we wanted to see last season with the Reds was make sure, you know, you got your starters, let them play. And don't be continuously rotating them in and out. Give them a chance to get hot. Give them a chance to play throughout the, you know, through the struggles. Give them a chance to grow and develop. And they're going to have that chance. And that's the problem with, I think, Jonathan India, was you knew, you know, 4 or 5 seasons into the league, again, you kind of knew what he was. You knew what he was going to give you, which is, again, a cog in the wheel, a good player, but you had to make space. You didn't want to continuously have what you felt like was 5 starters, really 6 when you moved one of the guys out. You didn't want to have that kind of situation in the infield where these guys couldn't play every day, get the starters, especially when you're a smaller organization. When it comes to the payroll, you know, you have to spend or be wise with your assets. You have to be able to allocate properly. You don't want to be overloaded one area when you can't afford the other. You can't get the other. So it was something where I said, we got to move somebody. And you know, you don't want to move McLean. You don't want to move Ellie. You don't want to move Marte. You don't want to move, you know, you don't want to move Steer. You don't want to move these guys because they're still so young. And the last thing you want to do is be like, oh, we traded this guy away. Even though he may have not had the best 2023, 2024, we traded him away. And then he goes out and, you know, Edwin Encarnacion's us. Again, that's the one thing you worry about. And, you know, with India, you feel like you knew what you was getting. And, you know, moving forward, Francona probably as well look and say, hey, let's focus on the defense. Something that can be important here as well. You know, let go of a player of a surplus, bring in a player who are a little bit thinner. The one thing I'd like to see the Reds still do here is just attack. I know the bullpen wasn't terrible last season, but I'd love to see them attack some relievers. Give this chance a team to win. Give this chance a team to thrive under Francona. I do believe this is a guy that can come in here with his, you know, coaching abilities, his ways, come in here and turn this Reds team into a 90 winner. Got to make sure he has the ability to close the door there late in the game. Got to make sure he's got the players staying healthy as well. And that's why, again, you bring in the depth. Brady Singer comes in, your rotation. We said 4 or 5 in a rotation. You're gonna have Abbott. You're gonna have Lodolo. You're gonna have Green. You're gonna have Martinez, and you're gonna have Singer. Somewhere in there, Martinez, Singer swapping back and forth. And if something happens, now you have 22-year young, looking to be a stud, Rhett Lotter sitting there in the wakes and the crosshairs. You ain't got to force him to come up too early, but at the same time, if he has to make some key starts, if he has to fill in 8 to 10 games this season, he can do that. And that's kind of a beautiful thing when you want to, if you want to work in a younger player where you don't want to worry about his pitch count. Don't worry about having him in there too long. Make sure he eases his way in there so when that big jump comes, he can make it and he's ready to go out there and perform at a high level. Nonetheless, liking what the Reds are doing so far. We'll see what happens. Love y'all's thoughts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.